Thank you. It's actually funny because I pulled in once I'd read that page because it gives me a lot of comfort. I don't like the numbers. Let's say that very straight forward. I'm not, hiding that I'm quite disappointed. I told yesterday on the Cyber Bulls that this was the quarter where I wasn't giving an estimation because I could not get myself to find a reasonable ASP, average selling price. We had this discussion with Jeff and Herbert and Christian yesterday. I wasn't going to just, take some estimations from the fourth quarter and knock it down because it's so difficult to estimate when in which market they applied what reductions that I think Troy's estimate was 46 and I said I'm not even sure it's going to be 46 and now it's by far below 45. So I think we overestimated average selling price and they were really aggressive in applying those price cuts. And I mean, obviously not having details on how much Model S and Model X and Model 3 and why it is, we are always a little bit half blind when we announced. Second disappointment I have, and I'm sorry I'm saying it as it is the reduction on cost of goods sold is by far not as much as I'd hoped for. We've been discussing that with Jeff over months now, how long does it take to trigger through raw material cost and all the efficiencies of build, and we're not there yet. Well, the good news on that, the silver lining is we're not there yet, but we'll be there soon. I mean, this is not going to take another 1 or 2 or 3 quarters. We're probably just there. Yesterday evening, when I saw the price cut, I really had belly aches. I didn't like the timing because I mean, I sort of felt like, okay, either they're absolutely blowing it out and I'm completely wrong with my fears the last couple of weeks. And so they're so confident we may as well continue this way, or they knew these results were not as good as they should have been. I mean, obviously, we all know what happens. You have straight away the revenue cut, but you don't have the efficiencies yet. Operating margin at, what is it, 11.4, if I wrote it down correctly, is as well lower than we'd hoped for. It's obviously a consequence of what I just said earlier. Now, again, there's also good stuff in there. And one of them, Fasa just read. The per vehicle profitability, they are seeing it over a lifespan. That is exactly what they should do, and us as well. And there's no point panicking now. This is gone. The last quarter is gone. It's autonomy, it's supercharging, it's services, it's connectivity, and all that will play out. They also clearly said they will continue with this floating pricing strategy. Yeah. I mean, I love this morning's Emmet's space. I mean, I didn't work much today. Thank you, Emmet, for keeping me off my day job. But I did like that we are starting to push a little bit for at least educational communication, right? You can't just expect, I mean, it's all good that there are 1 million, 2 million, 3 million people that are intelligent and understand how engineers talk. Well, I don't, right? I'm a woman. Thank heavens I'm married to an engineer, so he brought me to EVs. But there are millions of people out there that may have the money to buy a Tesla, but just don't get it and need to be educated. So this is probably a good moment to start this debate and not just always, oh, Elon doesn't like advertising. Oh, didn't he say 5 years ago that he does like a little bit of advertising? What the heck, right? Let's just start getting the job done sooner or later. And no, I don't know better than management. They have much more numbers and data than us, but then prove it to us, right? And this quarter wasn't the proof for it. So they will continue floating prices ups and downs, which is obviously new to an industry where buyers are used to go to their dealer and swallow whatever the dealer tells them the price is, right? Maybe negotiate or whatever. So Tesla doesn't have this bridge, and aren't we happy? We don't have to finance this bridge, but the raw data of pricing, just throwing it to the consumer may not be enough, right? There may need to be some explanation. And it's all good to think how Elon thinks and how these nerds and engineers think, but there's also a consumer there that doesn't think the same way. Then the last point I want to make is operating cash flow. So the free cash flow that was added this quarter is 440 million. I mean, it's obviously a consequence from everything I just said. That is nothing, right? Remember all my nice tables with orange and green and Tesla being the best? This is the first time this is really a little bit of sand put there, but nothing solid. So this is gonna kill Gary's pipe dream of a stock buyback. They are not going to do that. They're not building enough cash at the moment to even consider stock buyback. I mean, I may be wrong in an hour, but I really don't see it coming. And the second thing is, this will probably deteriorate a little bit the outstanding financial position that Tesla had compared to all the other peers. I mean, we'll see. I'll do the table in 4 weeks, but this is by far not as solid as it has been.
Can I add
Excellent
a few?
analysis.
Please.
Thank you.
So yeah, thank you, Alexandra. I love, there are a lot of things you just said. Now, the couple points I want to point out here. One is, this is a unique opportunity for Tesla that we aim to leverage our position as a cost leader, right? Number one. So they are purposely going to reduce the prices to the point that they are seen as the cost leader across the board. And I don't think it's just going to be against other electric vehicles, but actually ICE cars. And I've been saying this recently, where imagine the moment, which we're almost there, that everybody in the world understands that a Tesla is actually cheaper, the price, not only price parity, but actually cheaper than other alternatives, with or without the incentive. So I think that that's why they're going to keep cutting prices. But they also say later, they say that, this is a near-term pricing strategy, right? Long-term view, as we just talked about. And we expect the product pricing to evolve upwards or downwards. So this is variable pricing. So I know that, Emmett, you were saying, what's going to happen if they continue to keep cutting prices forever? Well, they're not going to. At any moment, they're going to just say there's another 2,000. It's variable pricing. So I think that there's this cut until they hit this moment when they're at price parity. And then from there, they might cut some more, they might raise some more, depending on the scenario. And so
that's all fine. And I think the business is very healthy. I'm not arguing the business decision of it. The stock valuation is going to reflect very poorly. That's what I'm saying. And all the people who bought Tesla in the last 2 years at $1 trillion market cap, those people hold on to their britches. They're going to have to hold for a lot longer to get their money.
How long do you think? How long do you think?
Until full self-driving comes to fruition, or until Cybertruck is fully ramped? And
what about if there is a pivot?
Macroeconomic
pivot?
Rates.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If also the macro market could save Tesla valuation substantially as well, but I wouldn't count on that given what's going on. Like, it seems like the Fed, there's a good chance they're going to hold rates high throughout this whole year. So I'm just saying, throughout this whole year, if margins are coming down, Tesla's stock valuation is a very good chance it gets cut in half.
And I agree with Emmett. I mean, I completely understand that the Tesla buyer is delighted, right? I mean, and actually, I'm not even sure if it's easily delighted, because if you're currently wanting to buy, so what do you do now? Think, okay, they may go lower in 2 months again, and 3 months, so you hold off, and you have to now suddenly, accept that your car has a floating price and whatever. But anyway, it is obviously better to buy it now than to buy a Tesla 6 months ago. But for the stockholder, in the immediate, this is really not good. And I don't want to, whitewash it. I see all the comments screaming on me there. It doesn't matter. But it is really, I mean, Tesla has been known that they don't care about the immediate stockholder interest. And I completely accept that and know that. As a stockholder, you better do know that. Yep. But this is another of those proofs, and it may prove perfectly right in the medium and long term. But in the short term, the stockholders are gonna suffer. There's no doubt about it either.
Yeah, it's very reminiscent to me. Like if I think back to sort of where we were back in 2018-ish, 2019-ish, sort of being invested in Tesla. The Model 3 is ramping. The Model Y is being unveiled and being prepared to be launched. And there was like a lot of doubt around, well, this is just not going to come to fruition, or there was a huge difference between being a Tesla stock investor and then seeing the company sort of laying the foundation for the future. And I think it's between then and say about a year ago, almost, it feels like, since probably longer, since Tesla hit its peak, it seemed like the stock finally realized a lot of that potential that was discussed during that time. And now we're back in that arena where the company's still moving forward and still making a lot of adjustments, but there is a sort of, there's a different tone between the company and the stock, just like there was before in 2019. And it might take some time for that to come to fruition. So I just think from like a psychological perspective, it just reminds me a lot of that time.